Time now for our daily digest of one of our top stories, abortion in Argentina. Today's topic. Senators there are debating whether or not to legalise the operation in all cases up to 14 weeks of pregnancy. Currently, it is only possible if the fetus is deformed, the woman has been raped, or if the woman's life is in danger. But despite that, an estimated 500,000 women have illegal terminations every year. So will Argentina legalise it? And if not, why not? Where does this leave women there and indeed elsewhere in the region? To give us their view, we have standing by in Buenos Aires Dr. Martina Romero, who is Executive Director of the Center for the Study of State and Society and a medical researcher for a government agency. Also standing by Martina Romero, who is a student studying political science. A very big thanks to both of you for being with us. But before I ask you some questions and we start to dissect it all, Solange Mijon gives us an idea of the mood in Argentina and the divided opinions on this debate.
For hundreds of thousands in Argentina, the hope is that it could be the culmination of years of fighting for women's rights. A vote by the nation's Senate on whether or not abortions should be legal. Clad in green, the color of their movement, or in costumes depicting The Handmaid's Tale, they've held protest after protest to fight a ban that government figures show is the leading cause of maternal death in Argentina. For botched abortions send some 50,000 women to the hospital every year. But their fervor has been met by equally impassioned convictions in the predominantly Catholic nation. Rural religious groups, as well as the pontiff, have pushed back against the bill. Currently in Argentina, abortion is legal only in cases of rape and when a mother's health is at risk. But the new law would make the procedure permissible before 14 weeks of pregnancy, a proposition that would make Argentina only the third country in Latin America to broadly legalize abortion, after Cuba and Uruguay. But legalization is far from a foregone conclusion. After a very close vote in the lower house in June, 129 in favor to 125 against, the possibility of change gained momentum, only to be squashed this past weekend when a senator said she planned to change her swing vote against the bill. An about-face that, according to the Argentine press, means the legislation is likely not to pass. And if that's the case, pro-choice activists have vowed to make sure the issue is front and center in next year's presidential elections.
Well, Dr. Martina Romero, let me first start with yourself, perhaps, and hearing there in that report, the idea that this law is far from a foregone conclusion. Do you think that the proposed law is going to pass? And if not, why not?
Well, the discussion has been very relevant, very important. I don't think we have a final vote yet, since a lot of the senators may change their vote at the end. The arguments are being exposed by some of them. So I don't really know. I think it's difficult, but not impossible. And I also trust that some of them will reflect on the things that have happened, on the two women that one just died the weekend before, and one is hospitalized. I mean, there's a lot of evidence to show that this law is necessary for our country.
I want to ask you more about the particular situations of women in just a few minutes, but let me first bring in our other guest, Martina Romero. Stay with us. But Martina Romero, you're a student at the University in Buenos Aires. You've been campaigning for this law to be passed. What will you do if it doesn't go through? And how hopeful are you?
Well, I am very hopeful. I think that in the streets we already have won. We have so many women on the streets fighting for the right to choose that is overwhelming. And what will we do? We will still be fighting for this. The campaign in Argentina for safe abortions has now over 13 years, and we will keep presenting the bill in the Congress, and we will keep fighting for this.
And what do your friends think? I mean, do you know people that are against this proposed law?
No, not personally, because all my friends are the same age as me, and generally we are all very decided to change the reality here in Argentina, and we want this bill to pass.
Let me cross back, Dr. Romero. You mentioned there a woman dying just last week, I imagine, from an abortion that went wrong. And indeed, it seems a lot of this protest in Argentina started with the death of a 19-year-old girl, I believe, back in 2007. 500,000, I'm hearing, 500,000 abortions carried out every year in Argentina. According to the country's health ministry, anywhere between 100 and 300 women die because of bad operations. Is that right?
Well, the official statistics show that in 2016, we had 43 women dying from unsafe abortions. And it doesn't really matter how many women are dying. One is enough for us to make a stand, to analyze the situation from a rights perspective and from a public health perspective, and try to pass this law. Because behind each woman that have died, there's many women that are suffering complications, that are going through the hospital, that have faced stigma, that have chronic morbidities. There's so many things going around this issue that I share the same view that my colleague, friend, and an activist from Argentina was talking about, that we need to change the situation. This cannot happen again.
Give me an idea of the types of conditions women face when they try and have an abortion.
Well, the first thing is they don't have enough information or accurate information. So they may arrive to a hospital that, depending on the province that, where you live, they will give you information, or they maybe impose more barriers onto you. The other thing that they face is access to the technology, because abortion is not legal or is very restrictive right now. We don't have misoprostol in the hospitals. We don't have mifepristone. So a lot of the health teams are using curettage that, as you may know, WHO already said that it's an obsolete technology to interrupt the pregnancy.
So quite a lot then. It's both information and... Yeah, let me cross back again. Martina Ferloni, it sounds like there's both the problem with resources and technology, but also with that information. Would you agree with that abortion is a taboo topic then? That, how do people go about finding out the various options? Do you know of anybody that's been caught in a situation?
Well, this was a very taboo topic of discussion, but the reality has changed very greatly in these few months. Now we have a lot of information going public about the situation and how you can have a safe abortion, because we women here in Argentina have formed webs of contention and ways to be together in these situations, and we have now
at least got the debate going. But what are the legal consequences if you do go and have an abortion in Argentina today?
Well, you can go to jail, and that is what we can't accept here. We can't accept to go to jail and be penalized for
does that happen?
Using our body. Yes, it did. It did recently with a very well-known case of a woman named Belén, who had an abortion and went to jail without a just trial. And
yeah, so it sounds like
that happened, and we don't know a lot of cases because we normally have a very large country, and maybe we don't hear about a lot of women that go to jail.
True. Dr. Romero, we're also hearing on this side of the world that the church in Argentina is having an extremely strong influence in this debate, that at mass the politicians are being singled out, named and pressurized. Is that the case? And if so, how do you feel about the church having such a strong influence?
Well, from my perspective, this is a secular country. And so, the church has to take care of those that believe on the Catholic Church, that go to Mass. I mean, that is a personal thing, and I respect that. But I don't respect when the church gets into the state affairs. I think the church has to take care of their own business and do not interfere with decisions that are going to be taken to guarantee the right of health and the right to life of so many women in this country.
Because currently the law states that if a woman has been raped, for example, they do qualify for abortion in Argentina. And I'm just wondering do you know the church's argument, or people who are against changing this law, how they can justify that but still, not allow abortion for so many other women with unwanted pregnancies?
Well, the thing is that if you were listening to the debate, even for the rape indication, there are some senators that are willing to change the law and just go back to before 1921, when the penal code was approved. I mean, there's a lot of confusion. They don't even agree with rape as a cause for requesting a legal abortion. So, and it's even when the law is there, you have to access a health service. And that means that if you live in one of the conservative provinces like Salta or Jujuy or Misiones, you will not access very easily, or you will not find a health team willing to help you. And so, yes, I agree, the young people, they get a lot of information, but we have to be sure that information and access is ready for everyone.
Absolutely. Does quality of life come into the debate at all in Argentina, and the mental health aspect?
Well, it has been, I would say, from our side, because we believe that to stop, first, it's a torture to carry on a pregnancy that you didn't plan or desire or you were forced to have. That is one thing. The other thing is they keep talking, the antis, they keep talking about all the post-traumatic syndrome that women are going to face. But that's, there has been proven it's fake. The methodology, and speaking about our research, the methodology where they did this research were all false, and they have been questioned in international literature. And what we have seen of different women carry on the abortion is, of course, it's difficult, it's ambivalence, but there's a lot of relief after that, and it's one way of regaining your power of decision and about your future, your plans, and what do you want to do with your life and even your family.
Indeed, the author Margaret Atwood, who is the author of The Handmaid's Tale, which I know has, people are dressing up in those costumes as they protest against this. She said that not giving the women the right to abortion is equivalent to slavery. Would you go that far?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
And Ms. Ferloni, would you go that far as well? And, when this law changes, do you think it's acceptable to have abortion in all conditions? Or do you think, can you understand that some people would like to put some, balances on it, some blocks on it?
Well, I think it is a form of torture for sure. I think that we want the bill to pass, and we want to have as many rights as possible, but we want the bill to pass, and if that means negotiating some parts, I think we should.
Because Argentina, when I think of it, apart from this abortion debate, it seems quite a progressive country when it comes to women's rights. Am I wrong?
Well, we have a very conservative...
Let me start with Ms. Ferloni, and then I'll come to you, Ms. Romero. Sorry about that. Ms. Ferloni?
It's okay. I was saying that we have a very conservative government now that is putting a lot of pressure and not letting women decide. And for example, we have a law of sex education that the government is not implementing correctly, and that is a very
significant problem.
And complicated thing. Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks a lot. Ms. Romero, your opinion on that? Overall, is Argentina quite progressive when it comes to women's rights, or are there other areas that need to be addressed?
No, it seems that women are kind of dangerous because on the one hand, we have civil rights. We were one of the first countries in guaranteeing marriage, among people of the same sex. We have a gender identity law that will allow you to change your name according to what you perceive your gender is. But we are not allowing women to make a decision over their bodies and their life. And so that is very contradictory. But I would say, bottom line, this is a conservative country in those issues.
Okay, well, it's on that note that we're going to have to leave it there for now. But I'd like to really thank both my guests, Dr. Martina Romero and student Martina Ferloni, both coming live to us from Buenos Aires, where senators are debating whether or not to legalise abortion there. That wraps it up for this edition. Do take care.